Why do we care so much about dogs in movies, specifically dogs that die? That isn't meant as a callous rhetorical. Trust me, there are very few on-screen doggos I have yet to shed a tear over. Some dog owners theorise that we regard a dog's innocence as sacred, and to endanger a wholly compassionate creature triggers our fear of the profane. However, I think to paint dogs with the same explanatory brush we use to justify not killing kids in movies seems a bit short-sighted. So I propose this. We can, generally, sympathise with dogs of all shapes and sizes because we know dogs. Humans are polarised when it comes to animals. We have preset dispositions to liking and disliking certain species. Spiders, historically, have gotten a raw deal, whereas dogs always fall into the love column. So what's this got to do with video games? Well, and I'm sorry to say this, there aren't many dogs in games that make us feel the same warmth as real pups, and that's because of a very specific reason. If we take my favourite video game dog, for example, KK Slider, what I like most about him, despite being a versatile musician, is that he's reliable. In Animal Crossing Wild World, no matter the day or the week, between 8 PM and midnight, always, KK will be there for you. He totally embodies the comforting presence and dependable nature of a dog. But here's the catch, those aren't characteristics necessarily attributed to KK. His reliability is a product of me projecting the qualities I consider great about dogs onto him. How about another example? Fable 2 is by far the best entry into the series, and in part because you get an adorable canine companion to accompany you on your shooty, stabby, magic adventure. Between meeting him or her and the end of your adventure, the only emotional relevance the dog has is whatever you assign it. Otherwise, it's a glorified metal detector. You journey through Albion, puppy in tow, but all it really contributes is occasionally wandering off to point out where some treasure might be. There's nothing about this that makes the dog feel alive. Sure, you can pet it, and its presence does come to play in the endgame, but his or her utility overshadows the fact that it's a dog. You could replace him or her with a literal metal detector item, and the game wouldn't play any different. We don't love gun dogs or blind dogs because of their uses, we love them because they're especially helpful dogs, but dogs nonetheless. So how can developers take the most pure and charismatic animal on planet Earth and program it to give players the same warming feeling as our real life doggos? Well, I think there are two approaches here, and they slot nicely into two popular games right now, Team Ico's The Last Guardian and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. To catch you up with Team Ico's The Last Guardian, Trico is a mythical and powerful creature that teams up with a small child to escape a labyrinthian prison. There's much discourse about the physiology of Trico and what kind of feathered creature she is, but generally, people that consider themselves to be dog people see more dog qualities in Trico. We imbue this cute cryptid with the best qualities of our preferred pet, but for my money, she's a dog. At first, Trico is hostile and distrusting, but as the game progresses, as you show Trico love and through your actions prioritise her welfare, she becomes loyal, much like a dog. What's unique about Trico is that her behaviour is programmed to mimic our real life experiences with animals. She's fickle and unreasonable, but above all, dependable. Game director Fumito Ueda wanted to program Trico with an amalgam of characteristics inspired by his childhood, growing up in a home full of pets. She doesn't always obey your commands, she wanders off at the worst possible times and is easily distracted. These programming choices definitely put a lot of players off and potentially held the game back from reaching its full potential, but Ico set out to make Trico feel autonomous, real, and in that respect, they definitely succeeded. Even small and superficial quirks tap into that instinctual part of your brain that forms fast friendships with animals. Trico's ears twitch when they make contact with surfaces, her tail swishes warily in dangerous situations. All these animation choices contribute to making Trico feel alive, to make your emotional attachment with Trico more profound than just through association and familiarity with other dogs. Now while Trico plays a massive role in The Last Guardian, in Breath of the Wild, dogs are almost insignificant in the relative scope of the game. That's not to say dogs haven't been absent from the series in the past, between chasing them around Hyrule Castle and actually being a dog, kinda. Breath of the Wild's inclusion of furry friends is somewhere in between. The world of Hyrule in Breath of the Wild is vast and dangerous. You'll quickly learn to never let your guard down because you're rarely safe. Stables, however, are one of the few locales where you can actually relax. Breath of the Wild uses music really intelligently to signify safety. Only towns and staples have their own dedicated themes. The wider world is populated with distant sounds of birds scattering, volcanic eruptions, and the scowling of potentially deadly foes. Apart from the gorgeous music and friendly NPCs, each stable features a wonderful Hyrulean retriever. These friendly doggos serve no actual purpose, but contribute massively to the ecosystem of Hyrule and a wildly diverse land teeming with life. Stare into the eyes of these dogs long enough and a sparkly pink dust will trigger, signifying a friend made. Assault these dogs like an absolute monster and they'll distance themselves from you and lower themselves defensively. What I love most about these dogs is that, for all their limitations and insignificance, they react to situations like real dogs. They follow you around slowly if they trust you. They react to you spinning in a circle. They roll over and pull funny faces. They're a delight to be around and serve no other purpose but to comfort in an otherwise grueling and unforgiving world. So what about the most renowned real-life dogs in gaming? The Nintendogs. It's hard to argue for them being fake dogs, since their programming purpose is to actually simulate being dogs. But, as we've established, what makes a dog real in games, so to speak, is how they make you feel, rather than ticking a series of dog stuff labelled boxes. The Nintendogs exist on a plane with little to no threat. It's hard to build an attachment with an animal that doesn't trigger our preservation instinct. If you forget to feed them, they'll be taken away. But, in my experience, the feeling that surfaces from that is the same as a game over screen on a platformer, not the same as watching Trico whine in pain. The fantasy simulation element of Nintendogs eventually fades, and soon the game becomes more about completing a series of tasks than it does about actually emulating the responsibility and joy of owning a dog. And that's not to say that they're by any means bad dogs. Virtual dogs are only as good as their programmers, and with game AI getting as far as The Last Guardian, who's to say that in a few years we won't have games brimming with good boys and good girls?